to WCS Europe Season 2 Premier League round of 16. Time to check in with our bracket once more. Just to give you an update on where we are. We've only played the one game. If you've just joined us, you haven't missed too much, thankfully. It was a very straightforward victory in the first match for MC, who goes through to our winners final, and he'll play the winner of our next match. And that next match is going to be very, very interesting. Not just for one or two reasons, but for quite a few. As you can see on your screen, it's VortiX versus MaNa. It's Zerg versus Protoss. The last remaining hope for Zerg to go through to the round of 8. We've already had, well, an absolute minimum of 6 Protoss players in the round of 8, but it could be 7 this evening, unless VortiX can step up. The other reason this is very interesting is because they are teammates. That's right, it's the battle of the mighty mice. I probably didn't do too well with that one. Still, let's go over to our commentary team. But before we do that, keep your ideas coming for MC, and also let us know what dynamic duo you think these two are. Are they, for instance, Clark Kent and Lois Lane? I'll leave you to figure out which is which. Here's Apollo and Kalaris.
God damn it, Paul. All right, welcome back to the Caster's Desk here, as we now have 2 Mouse players facing off against one another. Paul said it was the last hope for Zerg, but it's the last hope for anything that isn't Protoss, let's face it.
Yeah, that's right. We have one Terran player in the likes of MMA that's made his way through, but are we going to have VortiX a Zerg player? There are no Zerg players that have made it through so far. We had 4 Zerg players in the round of 16. VortiX is the last one remaining.
Wait a minute, MaNa's stolen the clipboard. Give me it back. All right, and he does. MaNa is going to be vetoing first here with their lovely little red jerseys. Not biased in the slightest, me. Not biased at all. I can't pick between who I want to win, Sean.
I don't know either. I don't know. For the sake of the tournament, I want a Zerg.
You want a Zerg? Yeah, I'll have to go with that as well.
But, you know, either way, I don't mind. I don't mind. I was very happy with MaNa's performance in 2012, being able to pick up that DreamHack Summer win and, of course, ESWC. But VortiX without a tournament victory yet. He's come close, but he's also been so far. But it is the summertime. It is the summer period for VortiX, so let's see if he can live to how he played last season, last year, because he did have a very good summer and did put some amazing results out there. And we'll see if he does it again.
And it'll be really good for VortiX if he actually advances on from the group entirely, because not only has he practiced for exclusively Protoss here, but then one day in between the round of 16 and then the weekend where he has to play almost exclusively against Protoss if he were to advance on. That's a good boon there for VortiX.
Yeah. I like the map vetoes too from both players. Derelict and Neo out from MaNa, and Newkirk and Red City out from VortiX. So it kind of gets rid of the junk maps.
Yeah.
And I think the 3 maps that are left over here are pretty good. They're nice and all round. There's not too much of a playstyle difference between all 3 of them as VortiX turns on his fan.
I wonder what it was. I went over there, I was like, what is that? And then
that's to keep him cool.
He comes prepared. Apparently you need those little fans in Spain. You've been to Spain
I've been to Spain a couple of times. Valencia twice, and I went there. Yeah, it was very hot, actually. It was very hot. Not too humid. That's the best part about Spain. It's got a nice breeze off the coast, of course, wherever you are in Spain. I've been to Valencia a couple of times, and I've been to Madrid once before as well. But anyway, looking at this matchup ahead of us, Star Station, Whirlwind, Belshire Vestige. Star Station is a map that most players do deem difficult, but the recent trends of Protoss versus Zerg has been kind of falling onto a lot more heavy Stalker Immortal compositions, which aren't that bad on Star Station.
Yep,
so overall, I think the 3 maps are not bad.
Yeah, I would go as far to say as the first map is certainly MaNa's biggest hurdle, but it's not as big as it used to be here. And he certainly does face a difficult group, that's for sure. MaNa did have quite a few problems with his PVZ in the past. But now all he has to do is vanquish VortiX, and then he'll be plain sailing with all the other Protoss there. A little bit better ratios in his PvP, and then we have this man, VortiX, who, as it says here, he's got no school right now. He has a lot of time to dedicate to this pursuit.
He's the only player in the WCS this season that isn't full-time, that does still have school to manage. In Season 1, he got to the round of 16, and got to the round of 16 with being in school and not being able to practice that much. But that's reversed now. He didn't have the best Aces tournament just a week ago. I think he got round of 16, and he's got a lot of round 16 so far this year. But his focus has been on WCS, and it's been on Protoss. And in that tournament, he had a lot of Terrans and Zergs to play against. He played against his brother, and then lost versus Gosa user. But his real practice, his real hardcore practice for the last couple of weeks has been only against Protoss. That's all he needs to do. One matchup, these maps, and there isn't that too many maps, 7 maps in the map pool. He's got his vetoes in his mind, so he can actually bring it down to 5 potentially. So let's really see if playing one matchup for a couple of weeks is really going to push him in the right direction to be able to advance from today, because that's where his real advantage lies.
Exactly. He's had a unique opportunity here in the round of 16, and let's see if he can seize it as we load up for our first map here. Star Station will be that map. So let's jump into Mousebots versus Mousebots. MaNa versus VortiX. Poland versus Spain. As we do have, spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner here as our red Protoss, representing Poland and Mousebots. Give it up for MaNa. And up to the top left-hand corner, our Zerg representative, the last Zerg in the tournament, spawning as blue, representing Spain and Mousebots. Give it up for VortiX.
MaNa, of course, one of the highest earning Protoss players. I think he's the second highest Protoss player in the earnings, apart from Naniwa, who recently overtook that. MaNa is a very, very consistent Protoss player, and has been throughout his entire StarCraft 2 history. Not a very heavy hitter, but a lot of round of 32, round of 16, and quarterfinal finishes, if not higher. And in 2013, he's kind of had a little bit less than what he had before in Wings of Liberty. This year he's had, round of 32, round of 64, a round of 32, and then topped up with a round of 16 at the most recent Home Story Cup. Those results aren't that strong. They may seem like strong, but there's not the top tier competition. Most of these are European tournaments, if not all of them are European tournaments. And to finish round of 32, round of 64 in a European tournament, that's not good enough for MaNa.
No.
And it really is time to elevate that now. If he was to move into the round of 8, that would be his biggest result so far this year.
Yeah, one does hark back to MaNa actually being able to win a tournament. It was a DreamHack against Demaga with his PVZ.
DreamHack Summer. It's funny because in Wings of Loyalty, his Protoss vs Zerg was his weakest, always.
Yes.
But he won both his major tournaments against Zerg players. Demaga in the DreamHack Summer, and then Stefano in ESWC.
And they were very close to each other, if I recall correctly. Very, very close in terms of time
within a couple of
proximity.
months, I think. Because DreamHack Summers, I think, in June, and then ESWC's in, late August or something along those lines.
So now here, MaNa, can he attain the heights of a championship against a Zerg player, or even just propel himself on against the Zerg to face a absolute barrage of Protoss later on, as VortiX decided to send that drone over to the third base and then realized that the pylon was being cancelled, so consolidates all of that and says, I'll have my natural, thank you very much. And just sends these Zerglings out for the probe hunt. So VortiX will see the wall at the front of his opponent's base and know exactly what's going on with that gateway. Yeah,
MaNa's actually always been, I'm a little bit surprised he's decided to move over to a gateway style of opening, because he's always been a Nexus first player into Stargate almost every single game. MaNa is a player that doesn't really deviate too much with his openings, but really changes things up in the mid game. Usually very aggressive, but that's what a gateway opening can offer him, and it will keep VortiX away from taking too fast of a third base.
Yeah, certainly on his toes, has to throw down the gas to actually get himself speed out a little bit. The Zerglings poke up, see a Zealot pull right on back and start nibbling away at that Nexus, which MaNa will be able to save quite easily here. Oh, but the Zerglings try and sneak past with that very, very well prepared probe there, who gets himself a kill with his little taser.
Yeah, congratulations to that probe, but still only one gas now for MaNa, and that's what he denied the scouting of. So if we look at the two players' styles, I think MaNa's super aggressive usually against Zerg play, and he's already chrono boosting into the cybernetics core, so that's kind of indicative of how he likes to play, and I wouldn't be surprised if he moved out of probe very shortly as well. VortiX, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. He's not hyper-aggressive, but he's actually already got a probe on the other side of the map, so excuse me, but VortiX is very, very good at defending against all-ins.
Oh, just barely misses that probe, and yes, he certainly is very good against defending them, but we'll see now if MaNa actually wants to go for them. It's, as you said before though, MaNa's always shown those aggressive tendencies. It's certainly available to him as these gateways will finish up. Does he go for a little bit of a 3-gateway poke?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got his 3 gateways finished up though. Pylon's about to come down. He's going to try and, you know, kind of put pressure on straight away, but there's no 3rd hatchery. So what is he actually trying to get to here? Is the drone actually just moves over now and actually just constructs the hatchery this very second, so he will be able to get a cancel on it if this continues to be unspotted, which is the case.
And Stargate is going to follow this up at a little bit of a later time than you would normally actually see a Stargate here from a Protoss.
14 Zerglings coming in though.
This is going to be interesting. Can VortiX hold on this off with exclusively Zerglings? Because his Roach Warren, I would say, is kind of late for this, especially considering he saw that his opponent was going for a gateway opener. Pretty late.
Well, 16 Zerglings is what he has, and a couple of Queens. Do not beat 7 Zealots and a Mothership Core if that Zealot's able to escape. Okay, so it's 6, but still, this is very difficult for him.
That's a lot of Zealots. That's a lot of Zealots here with the Mothership Core as well, as you said. And the Zerglings trying to slip by here, but that Sentry should be able to prevent that. And even getting that Queen would be very nice. But the Zerglings have decided to just go straight for the pylon here. That's good. Cutting off a lot of those reinforcement potentials here from MaNa, and even supply blocking him.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter, because the hatchery's going to go down here. There's no way he's saving it, unfortunately, and it does have to get cancelled. And that's a good start for Mousesports MaNa. Being able to pick up that hatchery is going to slow his opponent down. The only thing that's missing really for MaNa is to start to keep his probe production. He was a little bit slow on that, and wants to start to increase his sentry count, take the gases on his natural. An Oracle is an interesting choice as the follow-up here.
Yeah, it certainly is here. A nice surround by VortiX in the end, but the recall straight on out. It would have been very easy for MaNa to just stay there and say, I'm going to kill a lot of Zerglings, but you know he wants to be meticulous about how much he saves with this follow-up.
Well, upon killing 1 Queen, it does make sense for this Oracle to potentially work. There are only 2 Queens out at this moment, so we'll see if he can get some extended damage down.
Yeah, okay, so what do we have actually going on? We have 6 Roaches out right now. The layer is morphing in and just freeing up a little bit more supply, whilst +1 does whir away here from MaNa. And I wouldn't be surprised if MaNa actually tries to follow this up with expansion.
No, he has to. He against the style of VortiX, even though we slowed him down with the 3rd base, the Oracle doesn't really help him to be aggressive here. A Void Ray coming in is nice. I think he should take a 3rd base with a Void Ray. VortiX, what he does to be... So the main reason I say he's so good at defending is because he never gets an evolution chamber early. Look, he hasn't got one now. He's going to be able to build a lot more units because of that. And that's something that is not good for MaNa if he tries to be aggressive, because his opponent doesn't need upgrades to defend against an all-in. He's even gone over to a Hydralisk Den very fast. And that is starting to build up a scary army for MaNa. He's going to have to deal with once he gets his 3rd down. Void Rays are great, though. I love Void Rays.
Well, they're pretty good. We already saw yesterday.
Did I ever tell you that Zealot Charge is my favorite upgrade?
I think you may have. You may have. But it's always good to know. As well, this Oracle's actually doing more than I expected it to. I didn't expect him to get this amount of kills.
So if we look at what MaNa's done in this game, he's got a good 3rd base timing down. He's got a Void Ray out to help protect. He's made a cancel, or forced a cancel on his opponent's 3rd, and also just killed a bunch of drones. So I think he's doing rather well here, and he hasn't taken any losses so far. So I do like his setup. The Twilight Council's coming in, and I wonder if it is going to be for my favorite upgrade, because currently he is quite Zealot heavy, and I think Stalkers are crap in this matchup. So I would love Zealot Charge, and I'd like a very Sentry-focused play, very similar to how Naniwa played, but he isn't adding on any more Void Rays to kind of, you know, coming in. So with more Void Rays being made, this is definitely going to be a Zealot Charge. With Sentries, Zealot Charge is great, especially to punish any player that can't move out well, or can't retreat well, sorry.
Or the ratio, I mean, of Hydras to Roaches and Zerglings that we currently have. Because at the moment, to tank any of that damage, 6 Roaches out, needs to get that going later on. He had to complement them, and he does actually start some now, realizing that that could be a bit of a spot of bother, as there were quite a lot of Hydras out in comparison.
13 kills from that Oracle, and it's still alive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if VortiX has got enough. It's 51 army supply, but there are a couple of Void Rays in the mix. Not too many force fields there. This is going to be quite close, I think.
It's always a difficult location to actually cordon off.
+1 attack versus no upgrades, though, remember?
Well, clear a constitutional finish in a second, so the Roaches can get in position better, but again, there's not really that many of them there.
Archon going to try to help out. I think he can hold this. I think he can.
He certainly should be able to. We'll see. Cannon's going to help out.
Good.
And does he have foot and overcharge? Yes, he does. So that's going to help out a lot as well here. Guardian Shield goes up, soaking a lot of that damage as the Zealots do on move on forwards. They don't have charge just yet, so it's going to be a bit harder for them to actually seal the gap here between this. But Time Warp's certainly going to help that, along with Force Fields as well, pinning these units up against this. But these Hydralisks, once they're all gone, if they all do disappear, then those Void Rays are going to have an easy time. But actually, there's not that many Void Rays left.
He's not got too much left, so he's losing his entire army. And I thought it would be a little bit closer than that, but it is not, and it has been broken down. VortiX with a big supply lead. Remember, no upgrades, just a lot of units. So I really think MaNa's caught off guard a little bit there. I think he's like, how does he have so many units? I've killed so many probes. I've destroyed his third base. What is going on? But in reality, he's delayed his delayed his upgrades to make more units here. So it is catching MaNa by surprise. He doesn't want to lose his third Nexus here. This is a disaster if that goes down, but I can't see how he's not losing it.
I mean, a good gauge for people that, you know, are looking in here is the fact that the 2 evolution chambers are only now just going down whilst the Hive's morphing in, which is certainly not something you normally see, but this Nexus is going to fall. VortiX is going to get the kill, and all he has to do is bring some more Hydralisks over here, and I think he's going to be safe for going for a full kill.
Yeah, well, this is just set up so nice. From this position, VortiX is leading by a large margin. He's going to be able to bring down, as you say, the gateways at the front, maybe able to march his way through the middle as well. But he's sacrificed so much to have so many units. If this hadn't have worked, MaNa would keep his third base, he'd keep the income high, and would be at +2 attack with Zealot Charge and Archons. But VortiX squeezed in there just in time. And now with 1-1 on the way, the Hive down, he can go, you know, straight up to Vipers here, I'd say.
Yeah, and easily just pull out these great units here that MaNa does have, but again, doesn't really have enough of them as the Zealots do move on forwards once again. Just trying to get all of this army together and kiting back quite nicely against the Zealots, trying to even just separate a few of the units into a better concave, and wants to keep this Hydralisk alive against those Void Rays.
Yeah, the Void Rays need to stay alive here.
And we're going to try and go for this once again here. Time Warp slows a lot of this army down, but even if MaNa does crush this back, again, the production for VortiX behind it is still going to be phenomenal.
Try to micro that Archon back. Would have been nice to be able to save that, but here come the Vipers in the production tab, and he's going to pull all the expensive units in, which is going to be the Void Rays in this case, and maybe an Archon or 2 if he has enough energy.
Yeah, he's going to have anything he wants. It's going to be Zerg Christmas here for VortiX in just a little bit.
It would be nice to, at this point, have Stalkers, but it's not going to happen. The Oracle comes in, which is, you know, look at that, 17 kills with a couple of units as well. It does get picked off.
He was a hero for a while.
MaNa's going to try and take his third base now. He has to, but, you know, VortiX is up to 4 bases now, 163 supply. 1-1 is about to complete, and the Vipers are ready. The Vipers, if he can get enough energy off, he will have enough energy off 3 Vipers. He'll pull the 2 Void Rays and the 2 Archons into this army.
And one thing that could try and keep MaNa in this is perfect storms, but even then, it would take an absolute miracle engagement for him off the back of that to actually shut this down. So VortiX is just crossing, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's here with the Overseers as well to come along with this army. And he should have a pretty easy time in dismantling MaNa once he gets over there.
Yeah. This is very difficult for MaNa to hold on. The storm could help, but it's so far away. Look at that army. It's so cute. It's so small.
Oh, poor little army.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Zerg Christmas comes early. And there you go. Bye-bye, little Void Rays. And GG. VortiX takes game number 1 with his cool little fan. Had to have lights on it, didn't it?
It had to have lights. It's like a Ferris wheel.
It's very nice.
A very fast Ferris wheel. That'll make you a little bit sick.
That'd be scary.
It would be very scary. VortiX picks up map number 1. Despite MaNa playing, I don't think MaNa played that bad, to be honest. I think he played that quite well. But not having the quite enough units out in time. Void Rays weren't enough.
If you were going into that situation, Apollo, as the Protoss there, defending at that third base, say you wanted to increase your production or something like that, how would you have held on against a push like that from VortiX? What would you have done differently?
I think I'm not sure if he had a cannon on that third base, because I think it was
one.
There was a cannon. Okay, so he had a cannon,
yeah.
and he had the photon overcharge. It's very simply just trying to chrono boost out more units, maybe stop his pro production a little bit more, just to try to get out as much as possible. Maybe hug the Nexus a little bit better. The force fields could have been cleaner as well, and just keep on getting units in there. It was a very close fight, because what happened in that fight is as soon as momentum went in VortiX's favor, it landslid. So it just went whoop, and then things went very heavily in favor of VortiX. But we'll see what happens in map number 2. Star Station is the hardest of all 3 maps to play on for MaNa. So in his mind, he could have already said that was a write-off as a map. You never want to say that.
No.
You actually never want to say that, but there's still 2 maps left, of course, for him to turn the comeback down, but VortiX is fighting strong for Zerg players in this tournament. 1 win and he would be going on to the winners match to fight off against MC to hopefully put another non-Protoss through to the round of 8.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Whirlwind will be our second map here, and I think not only a lot of Zergs are rooting for VortiX, but also probably a lot of other races rooting for VortiX here, as we now jump into game number 2 to see if VortiX can take the series 2-0, or if MaNa can tie it up 1-1. So we have that Protoss player spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, our red Protoss, representing Poland and Mouse Sports. Give it up for Mouse MaNa. And up to the top left-hand corner, our blue Zerg, currently 1 game up. Looking to advance on to play against SKMC. Give it up for Mouse VortiX.
Okie doke. Whirlwind. So pylon down on the low ground. So we're going to have a more traditional opening from MaNa, not just in this matchup, but for himself.
Yeah.
This is most of the time just going to be for that for the Nexus first, and he is lucky to get the Scout first too.
It's always about that clockwise scouting, as MaNa will now see where it is and has the opportunity here now to do what he wants to do here. He's going to poke in, see what VortiX is up to, sees no spawning pool just yet, and now has the opportunity to start blocking away at that natural if he sees fit.
Do you think there's many mind games going on between these 2 players being on the same team and whatnot?
Well, I think with VortiX and Lucifron joining Mouse Sports, again, we've seen it with Hasuobs, and we've seen his practice regime come into effect as of late. There's a lot of camaraderie in Mouse Sports right now in terms of discussing the game with one another, discussing a lot of ideas. I'm not 100% sure as to how many games they're practicing with one another, but there's certainly always those discussion factors, right? So maybe there is a little bit of that. I don't want to overstep the mark and say, yes, there's loads, but I certainly think there is minor points.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some, but I don't think there's that much.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I don't think... Oh, we lost that probe there. It's a little bit unfortunate. I don't think there's that much, because I don't think they would have played against each other for quite a while, knowing that they were going up against each other. Maybe if there was a... You know, if either player wanted help, there would have been words of advice, but I don't think they would have had too many man games, because what happens, especially in the Korean teams, is that they are forced to play against each other for a long time. So they play each other day in, day out. So Sulky against SOS, for example, is very different because they know each other so well. But in this regard, not the case, I don't think. I think this series wouldn't play out any different if it was 2 other players not on the same team.
Yeah. Well, that cannon's going to go down here for MaNa just to keep himself nicely defended, and a gateway is on the way as well. His Zerglings trying to head over. They shouldn't technically be able to get in and do too much, as MaNa sees it in time and should be able to block off nicely.
Yeah, it just adds on another gateway, and the probe is there. Oh, actually, the cannon's not there in time. He might have to build a pylon or something if he has the money.
Second probe.
Well, he does get another probe, yes. It's a nice start. Just killing 2 probes, 1 scouting, 1, another one that moved out. Third Nexus down, though. VortiX, thousands and thousands and thousands of games of experience under his belt when it comes to playing against this opening. From Wings of Liberty, it was the opening every single day, every single month for a very long time.
And that's kind of why I just like Gateway Opener more than the Forge now. It's harder to, I feel it's harder as a Protoss to pull it off. But once you do, then you distill an air of insecurity in your Zerg opponent.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weakness of this build for MaNa, is that it's very easy for the Zerg player to say, all right, it's drone o'clock time, and build a bunch of drones. And all you need to be careful of is Does he have a Stargate or a Robo? Those are the two structures that are most common follow-up from this position. If you see the Stargate, you continue droning and just add on 2 Spore Crawlers per base, and keep droning, add on a Queens and so on. So in that position, you can race up to 75 drones, 3 base saturation very fast. If you see the robotics facility, you obviously bring that down a lot faster and go over towards building a defense setup for some kind of push. So that's the weakness of this. The strength of it, though, is that it sets you up with a better economy.
Yep.
Faster. You know, you have more money to spend and mess around with. As we do have +1 attack coming in, but not a Stargate yet. With +1 attack being put in here, it is interesting. Is it a fast third with +1 attack to make sure his Zealots can hold off against Zergling pressure? Are we going to see a bunch of gateways come down? He has got 2 extra gases on the natural, and if he starts mining from him, it's clearly not an attack because he's mining too much gas for any kind of 2-base assault. So I have a feeling that it is going to be just for a faster third in this regard. 4 gases is going to pile up a lot of sentries and tech as soon as he expands.
And I mean, I don't even mind that if it were to be. You know, in these spawning positions, expanding away from your opponent's very, very nice. Robo Facility is on the way here, though, for MaNa, as is the Roach Warrant for VortiX at a little bit of a later time. But it doesn't really matter as much this game in terms of any defense because of, obviously, the Forge opener as opposed to the Gateway opener.
Is it a Warp Prism, do you think?
Do you mean straight for the ramp with sentries, or...?
Maybe.
Maybe?
A bit of pressure, maybe.
Twilight Council goes down as well.
Second Forge. No.
Nah, that's...
So this is very... it is greedy because it's very focused for the late game. And what's going to develop from this, if MaNa's able to take a third soon, unpunished, well, that becomes an interesting game because MaNa becomes very strong very fast.
Yeah.
16 Zerglings are being produced here, which is kind of normal time to build them. This is for any pylons or probes coming around. MaNa, though, with the robotics facility, just adding on up to 3 more gateways, is taking his time to expand, not rushing it out.
Yeah.
With +2 attack on the way here. 47 probes, still adding on probes though.
Unless he wants to go kind of Stardust style and just go after this, just Immortal Production. Immortal Production gets 2-1. After the next gateway, throws down after the next Nexus, gets a lot of gateways and just goes full on aggression from there.
The only difference is though that Stardust takes a much faster third Nexus first and then adds all these on.
Yeah.
But MaNa definitely should be adding on the Nexus. It doesn't make too much sense to go for a very low gateway attack with 2-1 upgrades. It needs to be much more powerful than it is. But with his 3 sentries and a Zealot, and all those Zerglings coming in, yes, they have +1 attack. But he could lose all of those units and the Nexus here. He has to be very, very careful.
Mortal's going to stop at the Zerglings, run straight on in. It's not blocked here, and VortiX decides to take the opportunity wholeheartedly. Separates up these Zerglings to make it even harder for his opponent to clean up, as well as do more damage to those probe lines. He's stopped so much economy.
This is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. And there are so many units in the production tab as well. With double Forge and a third Nexus and the disruption to his mineral line, I can't see MaNa staying in this game too long. There's too many units coming.
Yeah, I don't even see him holding on to this third base either if he's not careful. I mean, the Immortals are on the way here, but these Roaches, they find a completely naked third base. Interesting overall conga line.
Very greedy-ish style from MaNa, and you cannot be slowed down in this style. There's no way he's keeping this third base, and now MaNa's all of a sudden on 2 bases with decent upgrades, but a very small army. Behind this, the Hydral's Den and the Infestation Pit coming down again. And remember, no Evolution Chamber. I mentioned this style before. It's happened again here. You know, there's just so many units.
Yeah, VortiX playing this very nicely, even catching that Immortal at the very front of this army here. Second Immortal does end up popping, along with Force Fields trying to separate off as many of these units as he possibly can do, with the Photon Overcharge now on that Nexus here, trying to prevent this advancement. But VortiX can just pull back and be like, well, I'm going to make more drones, I'm going to get my upgrades, I'm going to get my hive. Yeah. Everything he wants and desires.
This is bad news. This is bad to the bone.
It is, man.
This is bad. Because now he's sat on 2 bases with a small army. He's trying to build up his sentry count and adding on a bunch of gateways to go for an attack. He's going to go for an attack. There's no doubt in my mind now. He's lost probes, he's lost his third Nexus. There's no way he's playing from behind. So when he moves out with this attack, he's on a very high gateway count. It's like 9, 10 gateways.
It's a lot of gateways,
It's a lot of gateways, man. It's a lot of gateways. Blink's on his way as well to help out this fight, but I don't see VortiX not holding this. He's already up to 153 supply. He's got Hydralisk. He's about to finish up with 1-1. Well, I suppose in 60 seconds or so we'll do that. If MaNa tries to take a third base, then eventually he... Okay, so I don't even believe this is a third base.
No.
You're not tricking me, buddy.
It can't be.
You're not tricking me.
Even if it isn't, or even if it was, I mean, VortiX is at the right drone count that he wants now to just say, I'm making units anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just making units, and upgrades, and I'm very, very content with my position right now economically.
You can't trick a trickster, Kalaris.
Cannot.
I'm the tricky trickster himself. And VortiX goes in to have a look. I definitely feel this is a cancel. A couple more units get walked in. I think after these Zerglings have been killed, well, now he's starting +3.
It's going to take a while.
It's going to take a long time to get that upgrade, but oh, that's a big chunk of units for free.
Oh, very, very nice force fields there. Those Immortals should be able to chew through a lot of that, but the Hydralisks come along as well, realizing that they have to save it. Even the Zerglings going to town on that expansion, so even if it was fake, for whatever reason, it's just going to be denied anyway. Very good move there by him. And now MaNa, he has to go.
No, he was already planning to go from the get-go. He has to get over there now. Blink is on his way. The Warp Prism's going to help out. There's no pylon on that side of the map, so he can't warp in for now. He re-begins the Nexus.
Oh, jeez.
Well, at least I can... Okay, so if he's going to try to keep this Nexus alive, he has to do some damage and maybe fall back on it. But what's the case... I mean, I'm looking at it and saying, well, you know, VortiX should really beat this up, but he lost a lot of roaches there. A lot of roaches.
Do you have any applicable Polish knowledge in terms of language for this?
No, none.
Not outside of swear words?
None.
No? Well, Paul's there as well. I go with Niedobrze, and I've probably pronounced that terribly, but it means no good here for MaNa, as MaNa is getting cleaned up pretty handily here. Not too bad force fields, separating up a lot of this, but there's so many roaches in production right now. Yeah, there's a lot of roaches in production. He's got to be careful not to spread his units too thin here, sending in one at a time. 3 Immortals do survive, but more units are blinking in here for MaNa. And the Immortals do the old leapfrog here as well.
Doing a good job, though. I still don't think he can win this with probes coming off, but anything is possible here when you have these kind of upgrades. We've seen Protoss games like this in the past. We certainly have. Not too bad micro there as well for MaNa, saving this Immortal. As soon as any volley does hit it, he picks it right back up. But again, VortiX sacrificed a lot of drones here to clean that up. Oh, look at this. How is this possible? I guess it's possible because he lost all those roaches in the middle of the map that really give MaNa a leg up in this game. And look at the supply differences, 105 to 78. More units are coming in here.
This can't be possible.
He cancels at +2, says this third base is a goner, and with +3 attack coming in, what are we watching?
If MaNa does this, then I guess we're back to Dobra.
If MaNa does this, there is no god.
That's right, man. The force field here trying to seal this off. Roaches and Hydras coming on in to try and kill off all of this, but these units, the ones that remain for MaNa, have been extremely cost effective.
Yeah, I mean, VortiX is mining across 3 bases still, so his income's still decent to be able to keep on making Hydralisk and seems to be able to push out his opponent for now, but that was a close one, I think. That electric multicolor fan there was getting rid of some of the sweat dripping down VortiX's face.
Yep.
Because that was a little bit closer than it should have been. But with more Vipers on the way, I was a little bit nervous there about that attack.
It was a scary moment. And, well, he's got the armor going down as well. But now, VortiX, how many drones does he have? 62. And his income actually underneath MaNa's, as he did get that third base. MaNa, if he holds on strong at this third base, it's going to be so difficult, as well as protecting your natural as well. There's the opportunity for him to try and come back in, but again, it's going to take a lot.
He's on gateway units. He doesn't have Colossus. He doesn't have any High Templar for Storm. Granted, he does have decent upgrades for his immortal, non-immortal, one immortal coming out Stalker army. The problem is that the Hydralisks and Roaches with Vipers are very strong against this. A couple of Abducts, a couple of Blinding Clouds on top as well.
I mean, MaNa said to us just before the game's even started that if he just keeps his calm, if he just keeps his composure, then he can do it. And by the looks of things, he's keeping his calm and his composure. There's no other way to phrase it. He is, thus far, trying to pull himself back into this game. And unless VortiX takes the right engagements as well, there's the opportunity for MaNa to actually separate up his opponent's army and take it in those bite-sized chunks that you mentioned earlier.
War Prism is going to be a pain, but can he hold on to this? Nice Blinding Clouds.
Oh, and pulls one of those Immortals forwards as well, straight into those Hydralisks, which are going to mince that up. And all that fire is just being soaked up. The blinding clouds are just too strong here for MaNa to deal with.
Yeah, now VortiX comes in with a lot of Hydralisks here. Stalkers have great upgrades. The micro is coming in.
And MaNa's always been known for that blink micro, but can it actually save him here? That's so many Hydralisks. I don't think in the end it's really going to work on out. The Zealots try and do some harassment behind all of this, and MaNa's last glimmer of hope is dwindling right now as the Immortal does go down behind this. The last few remaining Stalkers get chased down and blink away once again.
Yeah, MaNa's trying his best to survive here. He's got Zealots on the 4th base, Zealots in the 3rd. If somehow we can find, you know, peace on his 3rd base, then maybe there is a hope here for the Polish player. He is doing a lot of damage. Finally brings down this third hatchery and should be able to bring down the 4th, pushing his opponent back to 2 bases without that many minerals on them. MaNa is forced away from his 3rd though.
He's just going to try and hold off at this ramp here. But even these Vipers, once they gain a little bit of energy, there's so few units there for MaNa, they could actually start abducting Stalkers and taking sizable dents into his opponent's army. So and he does actually flood on through here now. Scary, scary spot for MaNa as those Zerglings and Roaches find themselves a nice spot to assault this army. Yeah,
this looks like it may be over here. Greatest part about this game is that creep spread. Absolutely fantastic.
It's sick.
It is sick. It is some sick creep spread. But now VortiX makes his way into the main base, and finally, a rocky road.
GG.
GG is called. And VortiX like, whoo, not the best of series, but a 2-0 victory nonetheless. And MaNa falls down to the loser's match and will have to play up against Titan, where we have VortiX going to the winner's match, 1 series away from adding on another non-Protoss into the round of 8, but it is against the boss toss.
Both players now have a very tough series ahead of them. VortiX going up against MC, a player that has been fabled for his PvZ for a long, long time. And then MaNa going up against Titan. And Titan's shown some very, very nice Protoss versus Protoss as of late. So both the mouse players here gonna have to really step up very, very strongly here to their next games.
That's right. Let's hope they can do. Of course, Mouse Sports, you know, being represented well in the round of 16. 4 players. 1 is been knocked out in the likes of Lucifron. Hazjobs has made his way through to the round of 8. And we'll see what can happen for the rest of this group.
Yeah, certainly so. And that means also that our Zerg player does move on that 1 more step to maybe get a Zerg in that top 8 here. It's very, very important for a lot of people out there that he does well here today.
Yeah, and I think that he can. I think he played quite well. I really love his style. The non-evolution chamber, mass units, whether it be defensive or aggressive, and take it from there. It is an interesting style, and we'll have to see what the boss toss can mix things up with.
And we shall send it to an interview with the winner, Mr. Mouse VortiX, along with Red Eye.
Thanks very much, Kalaris. Yes, with VortiX, congratulations. Straightforward 2-0 win. Always difficult playing your brother when you play. Is it also difficult playing a teammate?
Well, it's not the same. Like, it was obviously a friendly match. Like, it's never the same, you know, to lose to a teammate than to another guy. But I think that it's also not the same to lose to play versus a brother than a teammate. Like, when I play versus my brother, sometimes I don't really care about winning, and even if he's my teammate, I want to win no matter what.
Absolutely, we won that one through. Talk us through the first map. Did everything go to plan in the first map for you, or were there things that you weren't happy with?
Well, I didn't scout the Stargate soon enough, so the Oracle did a bit of damage, like it killed many drones, and at that point I was like, well, I need to make damage soon. I can go straight forward to Hive. So I kind of tried to make as many Hydras as possible soon to do some damage and catch up, and it worked out perfectly because he hadn't gone Colossus, he was going Voidry and so on. So yeah, basically that was it, and the point where I killed his 3rd, it was over.
Yeah. And then map 2, did it surprise you that when you arrived at his main that there was a nice big gap for those Zerglings to go rushing in? Were you shocked?
Yeah, actually, that happens a lot because people, when they are going to get the 3rd, they have to open the entry because units can go through the Zealot. And sometimes there's a lot of people that tends to forget to put it again there. So it happens a lot. Like, yeah, it surprised me, of course. Basically, I think I had such a nice early game because of that. But yeah, of course, it was a great surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you said you had a great early game, you had a great mid game in that as well, but at one point he took down your third and fourth, but you didn't seem that bothered. By then, were you like convinced it was one anyway?
At the very end, when he killed my third and fourth, I think I had won already, but I was really scared when I miscontrolled my army. It went the way that I didn't want them to go, and he managed to kill everything. Then he almost won me the game right there, but no, I think at the end, when I lost both bases, it was over already because I had killed all his army.
Okay, so MC is next for you in the winners matchup. I guess I'm not going to ask you what you're going to do against him because you won't tell me anyway, but how do you feel about playing MC? Because he's one of those weird players who can be amazing one day and then not very good another day. Would that be fair?
Yeah, he's kind of unpredictable lately. I don't know. I don't like to think I'm playing versus MC or versus MaNa. I will just play my best and see what happens.
Well, best of luck. Thank you very much. And we will be seeing him very shortly in the winners game. For now, though, it's over to Apollo for some analysis.
Thank you, Red Eye, and here we are for a bit more analysis once again. We're going to be looking at that just passed map. One thing that made the game a lot closer than it should have been was a bit of miscontrol, as VortiX mentioned in the winner's interview. So if we play it from here, at this point I think that MaNa is very much so far behind. If you can see up here, 114 supply to 177. Before this actually happens, if we look at the units, there's 23 roaches, 7 hydras. The army supply 99 to 64, which is very, very big in favor of VortiX, who by the time, if MaNa was to walk over the other side of the map, would absolutely be maxed out, 200 supply, in a good position to stop MaNa from coming for his final attack. Because those Zerglings that got through to the main and natural, they pushed him really far behind. So in this position right now, time warp, excellent, and then oh, whoopsie daisy, and then a big chunk of roaches are caught out. Zealots are going to get traded off here. That's kind of expected, but he loses a lot. There was 23 roaches, and now all of a sudden there's only 7, and more dying. And I think every single one of them dies here. And if we just look at the army supply and the supplies, it was very close to 170, but it's 148 now with reinforcements being made. So this is a big, big opportunity for MaNa to try to bounce back in the game, which is the really scary part for VortiX. One thing that is working in his favor is that he has 4 bases. Usually at this time, when a Protoss comes, this is almost like a traditional Immortal push. If you break the 3rd base with good micro, which is happening in a good force field, you stop the Zerg player's income. But what ended up happening that worked out well for VortiX, upon having a 4th base to be able to keep his, his gas income nice, his mineral income nice as well, is that he was able to trickle in units, a couple of Hydras here, a couple of Zerglings here and there as well, which was able to eventually wear MaNa out, who didn't have the best army, doesn't have any flood, doesn't have any kind of control from the flood of Zerg units once these sentries pop their last 3 force fields, and eventually VortiX was able to break down. But this shouldn't have happened, and it was all down just to a couple of moments ago, the mistake of VortiX, which almost gave MaNa a way back into this game. But upon this being cleared out, from this position, VortiX goes back to 4 bases versus kind of 2.5, because the 3rd isn't really properly saturated because the main is a little bit underprobed and so on. But then a follow-up attack is going to come in, and with Hydras, with good amount of Hydras and Vipers, from this position on, VortiX, as described also in the winner's interview, was never worried, even though losing his 4th and 3rd at the same time. Once he breaks this 3rd Nexus down, he's going to take the game and move on to the winner's match. So that's all we wanted to look at here with this post-game analysis, so I'm going to pass it over to Red Eye with some social media.
Thank you very much, Sean. Yeah, excellent analysis as ever, perfectly picking up on that misclick by VortiX. Not that it mattered too much. He won 2-0 and advances to the winner's game in any case. Just catching up with a little bit of social media. Keep your tweets coming, #WCS. And also, we just wanted to mention that we're doing this dynamic duo thing between James and Sean, aka Apollo and Kalaris, and the reason is mainly because they don't really have an Archon name, and I think they need one. So, if you've got some ideas of dynamic duo photographs that you'd like to Photoshop and put them on Twitter using the hashtag #WCS, we'd love to see those, or just some suggestions on what the Archon name should be between them, and we will put them to them, and maybe they'll accept one of them. Also, don't forget, if you'd like to come down to the ESL TV studios and join us, and you do because you have a great time. The crowd here, by the way, are awesome yet again. Then all you need to do is check out the URL. Tickets are still available for Saturday and Sunday for the Grand Finals. The round of 8 on Saturday, the Grand Final is on Sunday for WCS Europe Season 2. You could actually be here in the studio, share your drinks, pick up some autographs from the big players, and enjoy a very, very interesting weekend indeed. Going to take a very quick break, but when we come back, it's MC versus VortiX. Can the last remaining Zerg stay alive? We'll find out.